In this video, we'll be looking at the angles that are formed by chords, secants, and tangents, whether inside or outside of the circle. So let's start with a theorem. The measure of an angle formed by two lines that intersect inside of a circle is half the sum of the measures of the intercepted arc. So in other words, if you have two lines that meet somewhere in the circle, and it will form some angles. That angle will be equal to the arc, this arc, added together divided by 2. In other words, these lines intercept some arcs, and this is the intercepted arc, and this is the intercepted arc. So we add them together, we divide by 2, and we get the angle. So as a quick example, let's say that this arc is 40 degrees, this arc is 70 degrees, and I want to know what angle 1 is. Then I would say arc 1, so 40, plus arc 2, 70, divided by 2 equals this angle, so angle 1. Well, 40 plus 70 is 110, and 110 divided by 2 is 55 degrees. So angle 1 equals 55 degrees. Now, could I also figure out angle 2? Well, if you see here, there's a straight line, and a straight line adds up to 180. So angle 1 plus angle 2 would equal 180. And since angle 1 is 55, we would subtract that from 180 to get 125 right there. So make sure you memorize this theorem. When the lines intersect on the inside, the angles are found by adding up the arcs and dividing by 2. All right, next, we know that the measure of an angle formed by two lines that intersect outside of a circle, so notice the angles on the outside of the circle now, is half the difference of the measures of the intercepted arcs. So this angle will be half of the difference. So instead of adding now, I'm subtracting, and you always want to put the big arc first. So big arc minus little arc divided by 2 equals the angle. So let's say that this is 200 and this is 90. Then I would do 200 minus 90 divided by 2 equals angle 2. Well, that's 110 over 2, which equals 55 for angle 2. Now let's make a slightly more complicated example there to see how this really works. Let's say I know that angle 2 is 40 degrees. And I know that arc y, is, let's say, 80 degrees. And I don't know what this arc is. Well, I still start at the same. I'm going to do big arc, so in this case that's x, minus little arc, 80, over 2 equals the angle, which is 40. Now to move a 2 from the denominator over, you just multiply it over. So x minus 80 equals 80. And now how do you move a minus 80? You add 80 to both sides. So that arc is 160 degrees. So that's how we work backwards to find arcs as well. All right, that rule we just talked about, the angles can meet on the outside in 3 different ways. One, we can have two secant lines that cross, creating an angle on the outside. So this would be the arc it intercepts here and here. We could have a secant line and a tangent line that cross, creating the angle. So it would be this arc and this whole arc. And then we could have two tangent lines that intersect, creating the outside angle. Either way, we're going to subtract and divide by 2 to find the angle. All right, so let's try some out. For each of these, I want you to pause the video and see what you can do with it. So arc AB equals 46 degrees. Arc DC is 90 degrees. So the intercepted arc, so we got x is these two arcs. So we're going to add them because it's on the inside. Inside angles get added. So we get 136 over 2, which equals 68 degrees for x. Now these two make a straight line, so 180 minus 68 gives you 112 degrees. So remember, when it's on the inside, you add. All right, here we have arc AB is 95 and arc CE is 55, and the angle is on the outside. So 95 minus 55 over 2 is going to give you 40 over 2, which equals 20 degrees for Z. So when the angle is on the outside, we have to subtract the arcs. All right, here we have two tangent lines, so we know that we're going to be subtracting to find the angle on the outside. Now, look, the tangent line creates two arcs of the circle. And you know that the whole circle adds up to 360. So arc ADC is 250 degrees. And since the whole circle equals 360, I'm going to do 360 minus 250 and get 110 degrees for x. Now I know both arcs. I subtract. So 250, so quick x is 110. 250 minus 110 divided by 2 will equal y. 140 divided by 2 is 70 degrees. All right, so here's a working backwards problem. I really want you to pause the video and try to see if you can figure out what arc Z is here. All right, let's see how you did. So it's on the outside, so I'm going to subtract. So I take the big arc, 110, minus the little arc, Z, divided by 2 equals the angle, which is 40. So move the 2 on over. 110 minus Z equals 80. To move a 110, you subtract 110 from both sides, of course. So negative Z equals negative 30. And you divide both sides by negative 1, so Z equals 30 degrees. Hopefully you're able to get that working backwards. So as a review, all the angles we've learned so far, we have here central angles, inscribed, inscribed, inside so you add, outside so you subtract, subtract, and subtract. All right, so make sure you do the practice so you can get this down.